Hi, Matt. Thank you so much for joining this podcast episode. Really appreciate it. How are you today?
I'm wonderful, Rizal. How are you?
Yeah, doing great. Thank you so much for joining this episode. I really appreciate it. So, yeah, we have like a great, interesting discussion we're going to have about your business and your journey, how you built your business, and how you've been helping clients all over the globe. So, before that, I'd love to know more about yourself, like early stage of your career, like what you used to do before you started your business.
So that's an interesting question because I always thought I would be a writer when I grew up. Growing up in the Bronx in New York, that was not considered a real job. My
Mhm.
parents told me I had to go to college, had to get a degree, had to do something that would make money and pay bills. So I got a finance degree, spent the next 15 years, give or take, doing every job you can imagine. I was a financial advisor, sold life insurance, worked inside banks until I finally, in 2017, got back to writing. And then in 2018, quit the job.
Yeah, that's great. And is that when you started your business, like in 2018?
So 2018, I had a vision for starting my company, but I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do. Right. I knew I had written two books myself, and I saw a lot of people who had written books and didn't really know what to do with them, how to get them out there. So my thought was, I will just help people publish their books
Yeah.
while I was working part time teaching writing to um, junior high school students. So here in the States, that's like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year olds, letting them learn how to use writing as a form of dealing with their emotions instead of turning to violence. And the combination of the two, the pandemic happened, schools got shut down. And I was fortunate enough to meet a gentleman who was already a best-selling author, and he needed help writing his second book.
Yeah.
And he's the one who kind of convinced me, like, "Hey, you teach people how to write. You've written your own books. Why aren't you putting your skills to better use? Don't just help people publish. Like anyone can do that. Help them write."
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So after you like launching your two books, like then you started your company, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And which year was it?
So the Pen for Hire was officially launched in 2020.
Okay, so pandemic business, isn't it?
Uh huh.
Yeah. So how did you take faith of leap and going all in on during the pandemic? Like a lot of businesses shutting down that time, like everyone's scared and everyone's not knowing like what's going to happen to the market and everything. So how did you launching the company when the tough moment?
So I mean, there's two kind of answers to that. I had already quit my job in 2018, and I had that
Okay.
consulting job as kind of like my safety net. It didn't pay a whole lot, but at
Mm,
least it covered my housing expense.
right.
So that was the pre leap of faith. Once the pandemic happened, I no longer had a choice
Okay.
because they shut the school. So it was just like, well, now you don't have that job anymore. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And my only options were either go back to what I was doing before that I hated or figure something else out.
Mm,
And as plenty of smart people have told me recently, most of us don't do anything differently until the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of change.
yeah.
And I knew I did not want to go back to working in retail financial services.
Yeah, that's like a hard, isn't it? Like going back for like a job, it's like committing suicide for yourself. Like when you actually experience it, like your own boss, your own time, own schedule, and no one telling you what to do, not to do. It's been a tough time, isn't it?
I can't even imagine because I've never been in prison, but it would have to be like spending 15 years in jail
Yeah.
to get released and then find yourself back in jail a year later.
Yeah, I worked like a couple of years of my life in a job, actual job, and still have nightmares. So every time, like, I don't feel like I'm working or like I'm demotivated, then I look for gratitude, like why I have my business and that time freedom and everything. When I look through them, like past moment, like when I used to work for other people, I'm like, no way, I'm not going back there. So I have to work hard. What I need to do, I need to move forward. I don't take it as a granted, like what's happening. So, like, walk me through, like, after you're launching your business in 2020, probably is the toughest moment to start a business because COVID, no one knows what's going to happen, and no one probably spending money like how they should be, like, like when growing market. So, when you started a business, how tough was it, like, for you launch and finding a clients and getting started from the ground?
So again, I feel blessed because for me it was I don't want to say easy, but it wasn't nearly as challenging as it could have been given the circumstances. Really, the entrepreneurial community, folks who are running their own businesses, no matter what the size, I really think a lot of those folks went into the pandemic with a different mindset from the rest of the general public who saw it as the end of the world.
Yeah.
People who are in business for themselves saw the opportunity to change the way they were doing things. A lot of my clients are speakers, they're coaches, they're consultants, they're people who saw their business take off in the pandemic because there were so many people looking for help and support and guidance for how they were going to get through it. And they sought out these coaches, these consultants, which in turn gave them more business. And now all of these professionals were looking for ways to differentiate themselves from the competition. So I had a lot of people who were like, yeah, I need to have a book, right? A book is the next step in my professional journey so that I am perceived as more of an expert than the other coaches I'm competing against.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like a business card nowadays and having your own book for like a coaches and consultant. Like I work in the same market. I help coaches and consultants scale their business with a marketing approach. And it makes it easier for our job, like if they have like any kind of book. So we can give away for free, or we can tell them like they can download that instead of selling a $5,000 product, $1,000 product, and they just sell that $10 product and people likes it, and then they can upgrade it on like a whatever coaches program or consulting program they have. So yeah, this market I seen like my business growth as well myself, because this is my niche market. Like we used to work like a different kind of brands and everything, and last 3 years we've been working with the coaches and consultants. So instead of my business going down, like it's going up. So we increased like 300% in sales in 2020, and that was like a really really crazy moment. So after like launching a business, you started out, how is it like? Is it only yourself? Like, do you have any team, or like how is it like internal business look like?
Actually, at the moment, we're up to a team of 5. So I have well, actually 6, including myself. I've got myself, 3 writers. I have a project manager. I have an assistant and an operations person.
Yeah. And is that all you had like at the beginning, or like a beginning you're on your own?
No, in the beginning, it was just me. It was entirely me. I did hire a business consultant, knowing that I was starting to feel very overwhelmed very quickly, just because with what I do, if I wasn't doing the writing, it wasn't getting done. Right. And there's only so much that I can write in a day. So I had to make that strategic decision of, do I cap the business here and take on no new clients? Or do I figure out how to get other people who can manage different phases of the project so I can focus my effort on business growth strategies and the most pressing client need, while they're able to help me with a lot of the other stuff to keep projects moving, which allowed us to continue to serve more and more people.
Yeah, that's great. Like you always need like without people, like there is no business, right? So if you can be on your own, like I experienced it this year, I diagnosed with IBD, inflammatory bowel disease. So I couldn't work on my business about 6 months, like on and off here and there. I'm just working every other week. I'm taking off because I can't focus on the screen. I can't look through like the got me the eyes problem as well. So it's been really, really tough. And having a team around me actually helped me, my business growing. So without me, business is growing, it's going to be taken care of, like income is coming in. So I thought like at first when I started out, I thought like I'm never going to grow a business. So even the 10 grand or 20 grand a month, I can handle myself, and I can be like a proper one man show. And then I took a decision in during the pandemic, like, I'm going to hire people and take my business to next level, which is like a best decision ever. Like, and now I can see that grateful. Because if I'm not there, like my business can be taken care of, and also I can, if I want to sell it in terms like that business got the value to sell. So what are the like obstacle you have to go through in the first year of business, do you think, in terms of like starting out?
I don't know if we have enough time. There are so many obstacles, and there always will be. So just off the top of my head, we already kind of spoke about time management, right? When you're starting out and it's just you're doing your accounting, you're doing your sales, you're doing your marketing, you're doing the actual client work. And you're still trying to live your life and do everything else. So there's time, there's resources, right? Even just in systems and marketing, you have expenses that you're not necessarily making money to cover. Then there's figuring out where you want to invest the money you do have, like what systems are the most important. When do you hire people? What position do you need to hire for first? Who's going to make the biggest impact?
Yeah.
Which projects do you take on, right? In the beginning, as a new business owner, I'm sure you've experienced this. Anyone who's willing to give you money, you're like, sure, I'll take it. But as you start building, you realize that not every client is your ideal client. Some are more problems than they're worth. Some are just not really, you don't enjoy doing it, and that's not something you want to take on. So those are probably the biggest ones that I experienced early on.
Yeah, at the beginning, like a lot of people don't have the choice. Like they have to take on a lot of businesses they don't like and enjoy, because you don't have like a lead flow of prospects wants to work with you. You're building your portfolio, like a testimonial, case studies, and everything. At the early stage is the hardest. First 1 year, 2 year, like you're building that kind of system. Then obviously, like when it's third year, fourth year, like right now, like wherever we work on our clients, like we have like waiting list of clients, and we choose from them like who we want to work with, like their budget wise, are their person like we be easier to work with the long term, or are they going to give us a pain. So if someone's going to give us a pain, we introduce with the like other company, like hey, you want to go for like if you're looking for something cheaper or something, there is like companies there. So it helps like at the first year, like you mentioned, it's been tough, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it took a really long time for me to understand the 80-20 rule. So 20% of your clients are going to be 80% of your revenue.
Yeah.
And then 80% of your clients are going to be 20% of your revenue. So when you really are able to figure out who your ideal client is, who you provide the most value to. So I know without a doubt, it's speakers, coaches, and consultants. If someone comes to me and they're, a W-2 employee, they work for somebody and they want to write a book about, I don't know, what their life story, that they're just not my ideal client. Doesn't mean their story doesn't need to be told. I'm just not the right person to tell it.
Yeah. Yeah. And now is in a more time in business. Now you understand like what type of clients you want to take on, like who is your ideal and everything, because it's a long enough. You did the market research, you worked, and you got experience from it. So in terms of like a business first year, like let's move forward, like when the growth. So when you actually thought about like the growth, you mentioned you hired a business coach and you hired like a 5 employees as well. How did you come up with the idea? Like I need to grow the business. Like, is that because you are growing too much, or like you thinking about the future? Like I need to grow, so I don't have to do everything on my own.
It's a little bit of both. Usually the one that prompts it immediately is that feeling of overwhelm where you realize you can't physically work anymore.
Yeah.
So I would say in the first 6 months or so, once business really started picking up, I was working 80, 90 hours a week, just trying to keep up with client deadlines, handling all the sales calls that were coming in from our marketing, and all of those other components. So that was one. I knew I needed help because I didn't want to be the business. I wanted to own a business.
Yeah.
And then, yes, the second part of that comes later on. At some point, I mean, I'll probably write until the day I die, just because it is something that I love doing, but I don't want to be 80 years old and having to write in order to pay my rent. So it would be nice to sell the business or sell the majority stake of the business, have that money to live comfortably, and only really take the top 1% of projects that I'm going to enjoy the most.
Yeah, I like the fact like you branded your business is really nicely. Pen for Fire. I visited your website, looks really nice and slick. So you come across with like a mindset of like even though you don't sell it, you got the mindset of like a selling it or like hiring a partner or something for future. A lot of business owners, they do like that kind of mistake. They think like I'm starting a business, I'm never gonna sell it, or like I don't have to like sell the business. But you don't know like what gonna come in future, like 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Certain things comes with your life, and you have to make them tough choices. Could be like you ill or something like happened to you, and you need the kind of cash, right?
Just because you're setting something up where it's saleable doesn't mean you're committing to selling it. But like you just said, God forbid you get sick and you can't work anymore and you have medical bills, and if you are your business and it's not saleable, you're done. You now have no income, but at least it gives you options.
Yeah, like a certain things comes like you got a child and they got forbid, God forbid, like they got some kind of cancer and the insurance not covering up. and you need them kind of cash. And how are you going to get the cash? Because you built such a big business, and because the system is not the right place, you can't sell it. And you could have gotten $500,000, $1 million, but because you didn't create the system, now you can't do it. Or like even though you want to get a loan from a bank, forget about like you want to sell it for getting a loan from the bank. They see them kind of system in place. If the business is sellable, if they repossess your business, they can sell it or not. Like if you're totally rely on yourself, then obviously you can't do it. So yeah, like I really like the fact like you thinking about long term, because either you sell it or don't sell it, like having the kind of exit strategy, which is like really important for a business. So moving forward, what kind of lesson you have learned over the 2 3 years of business, growing a business?
Oh
Which one
man.
is like the most important? I know like there'll be a lot of them, but just give it like a few top ones.
If I had to sum up the most important one, it's probably realize that you don't know as much as you think you know. Right. So
Mm.
I know a lot of us can think we're the smartest person in the room, or when it comes to writing, like I know everything there is to know. And even if that's true, that doesn't mean I know everything there is to know about running a writing business. So we can't do everything alone in life.
Yeah.
So recognize what you don't know and then surround yourself with people who know what you don't know.
Yeah, definitely. That's so important. And in business, I think like every single day, like you learn so many new things. And that's like how it is. Like probably in a corporate job and working for someone, like you working as a like a robot. You are just following the procedure, well, the steps and everything. But as an entrepreneur, you are growing, then you are developing your leaders, you're developing yourself as a leader. So that's like an ongoing process every single day, isn't it?
Yep. Think about it. It's the same as like a little kid. Little kids,
Yeah.
they learn so many new things every day. It's just a matter of what you put in place. Even as we get older, my kids teach me things, right? My 9-year-old teaches me
Yeah.
things I didn't know. It's all, are you open and receptive to learning it instead of saying, well, that's not the way I do things, so I don't need to know it.
Mm.
Because it's that one little thing that you don't learn or incorporate into your business that can make all the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about mindset. Like, what kind of mindset you got, like in terms of like things doesn't go away or like the way you want it. Like, obviously you're in a sales business. Some of them you're expecting like they're gonna sign your contract or whatever they are. Like, if it doesn't go the way you expecting, like you have like lots of bills, you got team members. How do you feel like? How do you stay positive in them kind of moments so we can move forward?
So I usually think back to some of the things my business consultant has drilled into my head. The first being wealth is created by optimizing chaos,
Mm,
and we get paid in direct proportion to the complexity of the problems that we solve.
right.
So things are going to happen in business, right? There is not a
Yeah.
single business on earth where they close every sale that they send out a proposal for. Every single person, like it's physically impossible. So you've just got to really be able to roll with that and remember, or if even if you don't remember, remind yourself why you're doing this. I know I'm doing this because I don't want to go back to a job where people tell me what to do. I'm doing this because I don't want to ask for permission to attend my kids' sports events or ask for a weekend off so I can be with them when they want to do something. And I constantly write that down, right? The reasons, my why for why I run this business. As
Yeah.
long as I remind myself that my worst day of running this business is still my best day of working for somebody else, it's easy.
Yeah, yeah, so true, isn't it? So yeah, we're coming to the end of this podcast, Matthew. So what will be like a one advice you can give any entrepreneur like who wants to start a business right now? They're thinking of it and they probably have like their corporate job. And what would be like a one advice you can give them?
Don't let anyone who's not doing what you want to do tell you what you can do. So if you want to be, I use this with everyone. I actually put it in one of my books too, because I got that advice to go to college, get a good job, but I didn't look at where the advice was coming from. So if you want to be an astronaut, surround yourself with astronauts and ask them how they got to where they are.
Right.
If you want to be a teacher, so whatever it is you want to do, surround yourself with people who have done it and done it successfully.
Hmm.
Don't take advice from people who aren't doing it, because while they may mean well, right? Family members, friends, they don't know what they don't know. So they're not going to be able to help you get to where you want to get to. So surround yourself with the people who are doing it, get professional, unbiased opinion. And once you set your mind to something, don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So, yeah, we're coming to end of this podcast. It's been a great conversation with you, Matthew. So, I'd love to know, like, where, if anyone interested in learning more about your work, about you, where's the best place to find you?
You can find me on my website, www.penforhirenyc.com. I'm on LinkedIn at Matthew Harms. All over social media, pretty much all the handles are Pen for Hire or Pen for Hire NYC. But if you do head over to the website, there's a free book download. You can schedule a free 30-minute consultation with myself or someone on my team. And anyone that fills out that form and does a consultation as a result of seeing me on your show will get a second free strategy session as well to really help them build out their book idea.
Yeah, that would be great. So, thank you so much for coming to this show. It's been a great pleasure having you. And yeah, I hope you good luck with your business and your personal life. And also, you have a wonderful day ahead.
Rizal, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to staying in touch and seeing all the great things you're up to as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast episode. I hope you got some value from it. So if anyone interested to learn more about Matthew, go visit his website and reach out to him on a social media platform. So until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.
Bye-bye.